Good afternoon. I'm here with Mikko Hyppönen, a legend in the cybersecurity world. To and a couple of our, I think, security summits before, and it's a great pleasure to be talking to you. You gave it your keynote a little earlier was entitled "If It's Smart, Vulnerable," which is also the title of your book that you published last year. I suppose the one thing I'd like to ask you is the thing I hear often from analysts, and I think it's quite a well-known problem, is that security controls almost get in the way of business. Seemingly, you know, everyone will, or vast majority of people, companies will say that they will willingly circumvent security controls if it makes the job easier. So, how would one go about getting this balance? What would be your view on that?
I think we're looking at security the wrong way around. Every time we think about the security teams in our company or in our organizations, we think about the guys and girls who always say no. Right? Could we do this? No. Why? Because security.
Yeah.
Could we use these systems or this application? Could you open up these ports in a firewall? No. I'm tired of that. The way we really should be thinking about security is that security is the enabler. It's the part of our organization which enables the rest of the organization to be productive and creative and to get their jobs done. It's the part that has to be there for us to be able to do our jobs. But I do a lot of briefings to company boards or leadership teams, and some of the largest companies in the world are looking at security not just a cost center, not just something that they have to throw money into to make sure they can work. They see it as an enabler, and they see it as something that can create revenue for themselves. They believe the companies that take better care of their security and privacy are better handled to survive against their competitors. And in many cases, you can actually provide services and products around security which they can sell to their customers. So thinking about security as a hindrance or security team as a team which always says no, that's history. We should be getting rid of that.
Okay. So you did speak about your you've been in the cyberspace for decades.
Forever.
What broad trends are you seeing? I mean, has this always been the case? I mean, you say it's always been these people who say no. I mean, that's been that way for decades.
Yeah. So
What's changed?
when I look at the big trends over the last 30 years, because I've been working in the industry for more than 30 years, of course, the big shift was the fact that everything went online. The next big shift was the IoT and smart devices revolution. The fact that all parts of our society became computerized. The fact that every factory is basically a computer. Every car is a data center on four wheels. These are the big trends which are shaping things around us. And right now, obviously, the biggest trend is revolutions around machine learning and artificial intelligence. And as I told the audience earlier today, this revolution, the AI revolution, might be bigger than internet revolution. And that's saying something. Because internet changed everything. This might be bigger. That's how big these developments are. And the reason why it's all happening right now is that we've been building these machine learning systems and generative AI systems for 40 years, but we didn't have the computing power and the storage capability to have these massively large data learning storage systems. We finally have them now. We've just reached the level where we can do this. And now we are in the hottest AI summer in history.
Yes, you did say that. And you played a couple of very incredible deepfake videos. There was one with a guy with like the beard, but there was something wrong with his eyes. I just saw they got the blink, but there was something just not quite right.
Yeah.
And is it like a case of like us learning to spot a photoshopped image, or is that the kind of trajectory we are?
You spot the uncanny valley,
Exactly.
which is what we call when we can tell that something is alien to us.
Slightly off, yeah.
Slightly off. It looks real, but something tells us that it's slightly off. And that's why we still see every then and now when we look at deepfake videos or deepfake images or even deepfake voice, we sometimes can tell that this isn't real, but it's almost repulsive. That we feel that it seems live, but it's not live, and there's something very basic in our understanding of that. But we won't be seeing those for much longer. These technologies are getting better every day, every week. You look at new announcements from the largest AI companies in the world, it's hard to even keep up. In a year, in 2 years, you won't see anything off. When you look at where we will be with large language models like GPT, they will be drastically better than they are today. So we're living an unusual time in mankind's history.
So, I mean, as far as I can see, that I was speaking to Mark earlier, and he gave me the example of I think it was a Saudi bank or a bank in Dubai, and they were done out of $35 million when deepfake voice was used. Have you seen any other things like this? I mean, are we really on the cusp of a new danger? I mean, you can see the potential for it, but I mean, it's obviously going to be used for ill.
Yeah, it's going to be used in massive scale. So CEO scams obviously can be done, have been done. It's not a huge problem yet, but it's quite obviously doable, and we will see more of that. We're seeing more things like automated romance scams. Romance scams are a huge problem already. Obviously, that's a home user problem, not a corporate problem.
Okay.
But it's something that has been going on for years, but now they can do it at scale.
Like saying send me money in romantically.
Yeah, people genuinely fall in love with someone online, and of course, if you are in love with the love of your life and they need help, you're going to help them. So people are not stupid to fall in love online. 40% of relationships already start online.
Yeah.
So these kind of crimes work, and they are especially cruel crimes, because when the victims realize they didn't just lose their money, they also lost the love of their life, and that's really cruel. But the thing which is happening now with these deep learning models is that the attackers can do it in any language, and they can do it at scale. Instead of fooling one user at a time, they can fool 1,000 users at a time. So these problems are already here, and they're already getting worse. And we will see much more things like deepfake voice and deepfake video, which will be used in things like CEO scams.
So it's like the old 419 scams, but I mean, those people probably used to write those things by hand, and then buy like so many email addresses to send them out. Sure. You don't get them anymore.
Yeah. But even those kind of attackers, which are very low, targeting the low-hanging fruit, they are gaining access to these automated systems, because these are becoming easier and easier to use. The barriers for entry to use machine learning and AI are coming way, way down. Eventually, any idiot will be able to use them, and we will see attacks accordingly.
I don't know if I heard you correctly in your speech, but you said the greater complexity a network, the harder it is to defend.
Sure. Complexity is the enemy of security.
Could you just speak a little bit about that?
Sure. When we look at the two root causes of any data breach, any data leak, any malware outbreak, it's always either a technical problem or a human problem, like a human user doing something stupid, which we fix by education, or a technical problem, like a bug in the code, a vulnerability, an exploitable vulnerability that we can do against the system. And the more code we have, the more bugs we have. The more bugs we have, the more vulnerabilities we have. And if this is true, what we should be doing is to get rid of complexity in every turn we can. And that would mean that every new version of every application or every operating system would have less features.
Less code,
less bugs. And we're not doing that. We're doing exactly the opposite. We get more stuff, more code, more protocols, more features in every new update. So we're sort of shooting ourselves in the foot by adding more and more complexity into our systems. There's one exception that I have to this rule, which is remarkable, and that's the fact that when you look at mobile phones, iPhone, for example, iPhone actually is in many ways much more simpler than a traditional computer. Maybe even a better example would be an iPad. You take an iPad Pro with a keyboard, and you take a MacBook. They look pretty much the same. You can do exactly the same things with both. They both look like a computer, but only one of them is a computer. MacBook is a computer. If you're a programmer, you can sit down and write a program for it and run the program on the computer. With your iPad, you can't do that. It's a consume-only device.
Yeah.
The only applications you can run are the ones you can download from the App Store. If you want to write a program for it, you can write a program, but you can't run it. You have to send it to California to be approved.
Yes.
Then you can run it.
It's a good analogy.
And that's a simplified system. There's less complexity. And the end result is you don't hear much about malware on iPads, do you?
Yeah.
So we have a success story right there. I would claim it's one of the biggest improvements in cybersecurity for the last 15 years.
That's very interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that. Okay, so that's I've learned something today.
Get rid of your computer, buy an iPad.
And you were talking about your Seamaster watch, which doesn't have any parts.
Yeah, this is the example.
Yeah.
Like when I speak about smart devices and vulnerable devices or accessible connected devices, the example I always use is my 21-year-old Omega, because there's no code here, there's no CPUs, it's not online, it's unhackable.
Yeah.
An unhackable device. Imagine that in this time of age. Then when you look at smartwatches, they might be very secure, but are they completely secure? No, they are not. It's made by humans. Humans make mistakes.
Yeah.
So they are hackable. They are hackable in the end, and that's the difference. We have old offline devices and then new smart devices, and everything that's connected can be hacked. If it's smart, it's vulnerable.
We're just going to wait for this announcement.
Oh, there's a lucky draw.
Yeah. I just got a couple of T-shirts.
Oh, okay.
That's all I've got. I did want to ask you though.
Oh, an iPad. I hope it's an iPad Pro with a keyboard.
Have you got an iPad?
I do actually.
Okay. Yeah. I also want to get one. I like the pen. The pen looks very nice.
It is. Did you watch the announcement yesterday? Are you going to get one of the Vision Pros?
The Apple new. Yeah. They look quite amazing.
Yeah, and quite expensive.
The thing that I thought was amazing is that you can actually see the person's eyes through the thing.
But it's not real. It's a display.
No.
Yes. You don't see the eyes for real.
So that is
It's a display.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, that is. I didn't know that.
Yes.
But I mean, it's the headset walls are covered. But I wanted to ask. We're just paying the rent here. But I think. What do you think of the augmented reality thing?
The thing I worry about AR and VR, especially when we talk about Facebook and Meta, is that the motives they might have might be varying. What I mean is that if you look at the business model of Facebook, they make all their money by profiling you and then selling advertisers access to you,
the product.
So the better they know what you like and what you hate, the more money they make. All right, with that hindsight, why would they be spending tens of billions in developing this metaverse? And I worry that the answer is they want to have a camera looking at your retina. Retina. Because your retina will tell you if you hate something or
you
like
love something. Or,
you can't fake that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you walk around in metaverse, you see your neighbor, and your eyes will tell you that you hate your neighbor.
Yeah.
And now they know that you hate your neighbor. You said nothing about it. You've never done anything about it, but they know.
Yeah.
And that's worrying, isn't it? And that's why it was so nice to see yesterday in the Apple keynote about Apple Vision Pro that they've actually implemented privacy for the things around your retina and around what you're looking. For example, an app that you're using inside doesn't see what you're looking at inside the app. Only Apple sees that, and that's in the secure enclave.
Apple are pretty good with security.
Apple is excellent with privacy preserving technology. Because their main enemy is Google or Alpha, and they want to be different.
Exactly.
And Google makes all their money by destroying our privacy, so Apple tries to be different. And that's why I have an iPad.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about Ukraine because I've been watching that conflict now for 300, 400 days, or however long it's been going on, and um, it's um, it's a horrifying thing to me. And I've been impressed with the Ukraine's technology fight, and I mean, I don't know if you've got any insights into that.
Well, I work with Ukrainians all the time.
Okay.
Last meeting I had with Victor Zera was 2 weeks ago. He runs the Ukrainian defense, cyber defense, or just the local CERT in many ways. So we do work with them. And yes, I've been impressed with Ukraine as well. Ukraine has defended themselves surprisingly good against the biggest country on the planet.
Yeah.
They've defended themselves in the real world, but also in the online world. In fact, I would claim that Ukraine is the best country in the world to defend their infrastructure against cyber attacks coming from the Russian government. I think they're better than the United States or UK or France or Japan or any country. And the reason is that they've been doing it for 7 years now. For 7 years, they've been seeing real attacks coming from Russian government over and over again, targeting their infrastructure. When you do something over and over again for years, you become good at it, and they become the best in the world.
And so they're getting help. I mean, from yourself
and from especially Microsoft, for example, has been putting a lot of effort into helping. Alphabet has absolutely done the same as well. But it's not just the outside help; it's also the attitudes and the skills of Ukrainian defenders. And of course, I live right next to Russia. I live in Finland. We have 1,600-kilometer border with the Russians. Both my grandfathers fought the Russians in the Second World War. We understand very well that Ukraine is not just fighting for Ukraine. They're fighting for all of us. They're fighting for all of Europe.
Yeah.
Because if Russia wins in Ukraine, they're not going to stop them.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad we've got people like you there as well. I see we don't have much time left, but I suppose the one thing that I wanted to ask you was, and you might have answered it a little bit before, but how do we prepare ourselves and perhaps how do we prepare our children for a world, the world as we see it? I mean, in a cyber sense. I mean, how should cyber be taught at schools?
Absolutely, it should be taught in schools, and of course, in many schools, it is being taught. This has become a mandatory skill for all citizens to understand. We can't expect everybody to be an expert in cybersecurity, but everybody has to know the basics. And if end users, home users can't take the responsibility of cybersecurity, then maybe they shouldn't be given the responsibility. We could take away big parts of responsibility from the users who can't handle it to begin with. But the real long-term solution is a little bit different. We're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
We remember the time before the internet. You speak to 25-year-olds or younger, they don't. For them, the internet has always been there. Google has always been there. YouTube, Wikipedia, they've always been there. They're net native, and they think about online world differently from us. They are better equipped to handle living this life where we live 50% of our time in the real world and 50% in the online world. It's going to get better. We have problems because we're new in this world. They're going to be much better equipped to handle the challenges we face in the future.
So we're talking about their children. I suppose they would be better placed to.
It's going to get better.
Yeah. That's the question that I have for you. I mean, you're an optimist. Why? I mean, but as much as you make a case for optimism, I mean, you can also make a case for pessimism. I mean,
we shouldn't. We should be optimists. We're living the best time in mankind's history.
Yeah.
Technology is enabling things we could not have imagined. We are more prosperous than ever before. A big part of that belongs to technology. The benefit of that belongs to the technology revolution we've lived through. AI will be the next big game changer. Many people are worried about possible downsides. But if we get it right, if we are able to migrate superhuman intelligence, which is benevolent and which will help us, we will enter utopia. And I'm an optimist. I think we are going to get there.
I hear you, but I also think that inequality has never been higher in our world. I mean, we're having this security conference in the most unequal country in the world, you know? And I'm this is parts of my roots of my pessimism is rooted in this, because I just feel that there is widening inequality, and I don't think technology has particularly delivered on on to decrease this inequality.
Sure. Well, I'm not gonna. Well, I agree with you in the sense that we have big problems where technology doesn't directly help, and the fact that technology enables completely new kinds of problems. But the fact that like conspiracy theories thrive now better than ever before. I don't think anybody saw that 30 years ago when internet started coming around. That's what happened. The fact that we have global risks online, global crime online, cyber war online, these are very real things. So technology is a tool. It's an enabler for good and bad. And we can't just pick the good parts out of it. This will apply to any future technology as well. I still remain an optimist, and I think we are living the golden time for humanity. I think it's going to get better in the long run.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.